thank you, Hannah, for agreeing to come on this little show of mine. So, pretty much, this is just a very casual thing. To start off, you are a Praxis advisor, if I'm not mistaken. You're probably one of the most popular ones, if I am not also mistaken as well, in the community. So, just for those who, for a lot of folks watching right now, this is their very first time learning about Praxis and hearing about it. So, can you give us kind of like the Praxis pitch of what Praxis is?
Yeah, we are a college alternative that helps young people launch their careers in the business world. And more specifically, we typically help people land jobs in startups. So we're helping young people who really from a whole range of backgrounds, everything from high school dropouts all the way to college graduates to people who are a few years into their career who are trying to make a pivot. But for the bulk of our participants, they're somewhere in that college age range. Either they're coming into Praxis directly out of high school, or they're partway through college and they drop out, or they took a couple years to kind of figure out what they want to do and then they come to us. And we're helping them land real career jobs without experience. And we're basically teaching you everything college doesn't teach you about starting your career, but also, all the basic stuff that you need to impress a hiring manager, land a job, and start building a career in whatever direction you want to be moving in. So it's a 12-month program. And the first 6 months is an education boot camp where you're learning a lot of hard and soft and technical skills. And then months 7 through 12, we're coaching you through your first 6 months on the job.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, and I'm currently an alumni, so I worked with Hannah quite a bit to get through the program, and I got my job with Stupid Raisins, which I am very fortunate with. I'm very happy with as of right now. So thank you a lot, Hannah, for helping out during those very stressful times. But it worked out.
It
Really
was
well.
a pleasure.
Yes.
We had fun.
Oh yes, we definitely did. So a few personal questions, if you don't mind. So, how long have you been with Praxis so far as today? How long have you been working with the company?
Yeah, so 4 years and change, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
But I was a contractor for a while. I started out as an intern, and then I was a contractor for a while. I just passed the 3-year month of being full time on the team.
Nice. That's really impressive.
Thank you. It kind of blows my mind that it's been so long. I never
I
would have
know.
thought when I got started, but here we
Time
are.
flies by when you start reflecting on things. I got
It
that a
does.
lot when I was talking with Nicholas and Leah. It's like, oh man, time has definitely flown by. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So when it comes to new participants coming into the program looking to be accepted, what is it that you are looking for in a new participant to join the community to take on and mentor?
Yeah, so first of all, to give you credibility for answering this question, my initial internship was helping out on the application review team, looking at people's first applications, like their first round applications that they were sending in. And I've been working on the application review team ever since. So every single participant we've had since 2016, I have reviewed their application and been a part of the application review team that was deciding whether or not they would get into Praxis. Um, so there are a few things we're looking for. I think hunger and desire to grow is really the biggest one.
Hmm.
Just, Praxis is hard.
Oh yes.
We don't call it a boot camp as, there's a word that we can use. Like it was intended to be descriptive of what the program experience is actually like. So we're looking for people who want it enough to be able to put in the time commitment and the effort of making it through the program experience. And people who their goals align with what Praxis can offer them. Because honestly, there's a lot of things that the Praxis path can lead you towards. And I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here because I'm going to make it sound very specific, but also it applies to all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
So primarily what we're helping people do, again, is land jobs in the startup world or
Hmm.
in the quickly growing business world. Not all the companies we work with are startups. We've worked with schools,
Hmm.
and like smaller growing private, like smaller businesses in like say the real estate space or the media space that aren't like technically startups.
Hmm.
But the bulk of the companies we work with are startups because that's where there's a lot of growth. The company's growing a lot. They don't really care what your credentials are. They just
Right.
want to know, hey, can you get the job done? Okay, come in and like do a good job. And if you do a good job, you can grow really quickly, as I know you have experienced at Stupid Raisins.
Oh yes. Oh
but
yes.
yes, but the, being interested in that kind of career growth is pretty important. But at the same time, like the skills that we're teaching you at Praxis, you can apply them to all kinds of things. We've had people go through the program and start their own businesses or become full-time artists or full-time videographers or writers. We have an alumna who's working on publishing her first novel, right? Actually, there's 2 alumna who are in the process of, one of them's finishing her novel and the other one's like in the process of sending it out to publishers. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can go down in the scope of doing Praxis, but you have to have that hunger to like work hard towards your goals and be excited about pretty accelerated career growth. And if you're not, then Praxis is going to be way harder than you want to commit yourself to. And then we're also looking for proof of your ability to do that. So projects you've worked on in the past, we're going to ask you about if you apply to the program. We're going to ask you about your working experiences and, how you push yourself to grow in those experiences. What have you done up to this point to, indicate that drive and that hunger to grow. But, beyond that, we don't have hard requirements for prerequisite experience or anything like that. We're working with, 18, 19-year-old kids. We don't expect you to have tons of working experience coming into the program. There's a lot you can learn how to do in the scope of the program as long as you've got that work ethic, you've got that drive. We call it forward tilt in Praxis lingo. If you guys Google that, you'll see a podcast that we put out. We have a book too that I co-authored that's on Amazon, but you can find it on our website too.
I highly recommend checking it out, everyone.
It's a 52-week almanac for like embodying a lot of the principles that you will engage with in Praxis. So it's actually a really good place to start if you're curious to learn more. But anyway, forward tilt is basically like literally leading forward, like being that person who's like leaning forward in life, who's excited, who's a go-getter. Those are the kinds of people we're looking for, and those are the types of people that tend to do best in the program.
Yeah, and that's and I'm really glad that you kind of mentioned artists kind of come out of it, especially writers, because I myself am I'm writing my own short stories, or I'm putting together my own short stories to sell in a book, and I'm getting ready to turn that into a business next year, so I'm really hoping that this is going to turn around really well. Yeah. And I'm learning all of the systems to build this business and run this business from working with Stupid Raisins, which is fantastic, which I am super excited about. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a common thread for participants. Some of them are like going into the tech startup world because they want to start their own tech startups. We've had a couple different participants, a number of participants actually, who've either like started something really, really technical, like an app or a software tool, and then a lot of people who started more service-based businesses and like everything in between.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people, like we've had participants go and like run marketing at a company and then go on to become marketing consultants. And people who've applied the skills that they've built working at a company to marketing their own products and services, like what you're talking about. So I love to hear that that's worked for you in the context of Stupid Raisins too. Can I ask you a question? Is that
sure.
Okay?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, cool. I might hijack this just a little bit.
Hey, I'm perfectly fine with that.
So I'm actually really curious what skills you've built at Stupid Raisins that you feel like are starting to coalesce into that picture of how you plan to market your book.
So I think the main one is learning the website building page called ClickFunnels. So for those of you who don't know what ClickFunnels is, it's much similar to WordPress and other building sites to build a website. However, it's a little bit different. It's more designed to sell products. So with my book, for example, it teaches how to sell not only a book, but I can also put an upsell in with that book to say, hey, purchase the book, get an upsell, get the audio book while you're waiting for the physical copy, and then, hey, why not send a copy to your friend? And then I also get to learn how to do the marketing end of that, so the Facebook ads and where those go, and how to build an email list as well. And also, ClickFunnels allows you to build those email lists and send out those large emails that you would see that you get from companies saying, hey guys, this is something cool that's going on with the company, that kind of thing. So yeah, I highly recommend, as an operations deputy, learning how to learn to use ClickFunnels, reading the ClickFunnels books, the secrets, what is it? .com secrets. That's the series that I've been reading. And that has been very influential for me and learning how to use ClickFunnels and using it to build this business that I'm getting ready to do.
And the ClickFunnels pages that you've built that I've seen have been amazing. They're either it has an amazing interface or you are really good at it. Probably both, because they look so aesthetic. They look awesome.
And you know what? It's very much a team effort whenever you're building these pages, because my job essentially is to make sure that the system works, the background system works. So you click this button, you should go here, or this product should be added to your cart, that kind of thing. I have to work with my team with Stupid Raisins, so that's the artists, the copywriters, and also the designers, to plan out how this page is going to look. Where's this copy that we need to put on here to convince people to purchase or do a certain action on the page, and then here's some artwork to give people a bit of a visual, or here's a video that has our little sales pitch in there. So I have to work with everybody to take those pieces and put it all in the right places and get it to work. And then I bring our customers in and say, all right, is this working, or do we need to change this or that? And it's fantastic.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, touching on projects a little bit. So, yeah. When you're looking at new participants and you're looking at projects, is there like certain projects or certain types of projects that would be, let's say, more influential on getting them into Praxis? Is there something that you're kind of looking for? Like, for example, like podcasts, or are they going out doing Eagle Scout projects through Boy Scouts or other organizations, school perhaps? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, your Eagle Scout project was definitely one of the things that caught our attention when you went through the application process. Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say that, like, really the thing that matters is the fact that you've done projects. And again, like, it's not a prerequisite. We accept a lot of people that haven't worked on like specific type, like really detailed projects. It's not necessary. It's just like one of the things that tends to make a candidate stand out. And it's definitely something, like, if someone who's listening to this call or watches the recording is thinking about applying to Praxis and like maybe isn't quite ready yet, or is trying to figure out like what are the most important things to talk about when I do, having some projects is definitely one of the things you can do to just like beef up your application. Because you're going to work on a lot of projects over the course of the program, and we want to make sure that you're going to be in a position to crush those projects once you come into the program. So, you know, that's obviously a pretty direct indicator, but I think the self-directed nature is one of the important things. Like, everybody has to do projects in school, but there's a really big difference between things that you have to do versus things that you do because you want to do them. And your projects in Praxis are going to be really self-directed. Like, we have parameters around the projects that you're building, and you have support from advisors every step of the way, as Bryce can attest to. But at the same time, you are, you know, it's not like we sit down and help you map out every single step of your project unless you like come to us with a particularly sticky problem and say, hey, I need some support on this, in which case we're happy to help you. But it's not like you sit down for like study hours or anything like that and everybody works on their project. It's on you to make sure that you're getting your work done in the allotted time, which is usually like we work in weekly chunks. So in a given week, you need to be pretty self-directed. So projects that you've done, not just because you've had to do them, but because either you're legitimately excited about the project or you're legitimately excited about the skills you'll build by doing the project, that carries a good bit of weight. And in terms of project ideas, like if people are trying to figure out, okay, well, what's a project I should work on to beef out my portfolio? If you go to the Praxis blog or listen to some of our podcasts, you're going to hear a lot of projects reference. And there's a few that we bring up again and again. So one is like building a personal brand, setting up a personal website, being more active, sharing your work on a social media platform of your choice. Those types of things are definitely always something we get really excited about seeing. Like if an applicant has put in the time and effort to build a personal website, we get pretty excited about that, especially if it looks really good. Another thing is writing blog posts. And another thing that we talk about a lot, this isn't a mandatory part of the curriculum anymore, but it is something that's very much a part of the Praxis culture, is doing a 30-day blogging challenge where you write and publish a blog post every day for 30 days. I see the collective pain of the Praxis community on your face right now.
I love that project. That was probably my favorite project right there.
It's a formidable challenge. And I think it changes you in a lot of really important ways, both your ability to create content and to clarify your thoughts and get something down on paper every day. But if you can show up and ship something every day for 30 days, that builds a level of grittiness and determination and just muscle that few other things can. And it makes you aware. It makes you more competent. It also makes you aware of your competence. And that's really important. So applicants who've like read about our 30-day challenge and then gone and challenged themselves to do that, super impressive.
Oh, yes. And for the 30-day challenges, it really helps you with overcoming that fear of failure, which is very much a very big thing that you need to worry about. For a lot of people, that's a problem. For a lot of folks, is getting it to a perfect stage and then putting it out when it's been a year now and you haven't done anything. And getting things out there, that's probably the best way to kind of get over your fear of failure. That was a good project 100%. For me, especially. That helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah, I love that insight. You're spot on. I'm trying to think what are some other, because like there's such a spectrum of projects that we see that we get excited about. We've had people who've written short stories or written novels or even like self-published a collection of short stories or published them on a blog or gotten them published on a literary magazine. Like if you've tried to get some of your writing published on a third-party site, super impressive.
Oh, yes.
Like that's something we work with participants to help them learn how to do when they're in the program. We've had people start side hustles. We've had people talk about like, side businesses and side gigs that they've run and launched. Really what I would say, and I know this is really general advice, but it's kind of formulaic. I think it's workable. Like just pick something you're excited about and go spend 30 days building something.
Yeah.
Whether it's writing a poetry collection or learning a new hard, like technical skill or working on, seeing how many baked goods you can sell in 30 days or like whatever it is that you're excited about. I think 30 days is a really good window. It's something we talk about a lot in Praxis. Like 1 month is a good time frame.
Yeah.
And whatever you're excited about, go build a project around it.
Yeah. And that's usually, I think doing a 30 days for a project is a lot more reasonable. So for my Eagle Scout project, I had a couple of years to do that. Essentially, I had to do that before I was 18, so that's essentially what that was. And for those of you who don't know what my Eagle Scout project was, I also have this down on my blog, Bryce CD Ward, as well. So essentially, in a nutshell, what I did for my Eagle Scout project was I went out to my local Grange, who had a horse stable that was pretty much in ruins at this point. It was weeds, overgrown everywhere, and it just looked like a mess. So what I did was I took a team of volunteers, we cleaned it all out, we constructed 3 beautiful park tables, and we set those up, chained them to the area, and also put down a nice layer of bark, beauty bark, and now the community has a lovely new area to enjoy. So that was my project, which was awesome. It was a lot.
And when you said that 1 month, like you think a month is a good time frame, when you compared it to the 2 years, what did you feel like the 2 years, like the project took longer than it should have, or it was just too much to manage? What did you mean by that?
I think for me, especially, it was kind of getting people to show up for the project. That was one thing that we had a problem with quite a bit. Also because I was young and I was going through school and such, I procrastinated it quite a bit. So it probably could have been done within a year, not 2 years.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And a lot of it was just fundraising to get the materials and get everything together. The hard part was getting volunteers to show up. So.
Yeah, it's called, I talk about this sometimes with participants, it's called Parkinson's Law. Things expand to fill the time allotted to them.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I think a month is a really good time frame, because it forces you to be productive. Also, it's a winnable goal.
Hmm?
Like when people set New Year's resolutions and they're like, for all year, I'm gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
That's like there's no end goal. I mean, there is, but you can't see the end goal. It's a really hard
Right.
framework for setting goals. It's much better to say like I'm gonna do this for like a week or a month, and then after I do that successfully, then I'll set the next goal. I think that's a much more helpful framework for
Yeah.
goal setting.
I encouraged one of my friends who I had in college when I was doing Running Start, which was high school and college at the same time. I encouraged her to do her short stories to continue those and to share those
Mm-hmm.
on her Facebook, on her like our own little Facebook page. So now she has this Facebook page which is just stories for an entire month. So I think she's got 30 or 50 stories listed on that
That's
Facebook.
awesome.
So yeah, it's really cool. It's really neat.
What are her stories about? Like, does she have a specific genre or something she's working
She
in?
kind of goes like in a general, but a lot of it's emotional like poems and stuff like that. I have to look at it again, but
Okay,
she's got like a wide spectrum of things, which is pretty cool.
that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So when it comes to business partners, and you're getting ready to add some new business partners to the collection, and to start putting
Mm-hmm.
participants through. So what do you look for in business partners? What do you look for in those type of people, or in those type of companies, I should say?
Yeah, great opportunities to grow is
Hmm.
a big one. So we get partners from a number of places, and our business partner network is always changing. We're always adding new companies. So sometimes companies come to us. Either they've heard about us somewhere, or they've gotten a direct referral from another company that's worked with us, or a participant or an alum, and they come to us and say, "Hey, we've heard about Praxis. We want to talk to you about bringing on some participants." And sometimes we reach out to companies and we'll say, hey, you like either because they have a specific job posting or we found them in some other way. And we're like, hey, you seem like you'd be a great fit. We want to talk to you about some of the awesome Fraxians that you could maybe bring onto your team. So we're looking for, first of all, just like a good stable working environment, especially like in the startup space. We usually, obviously there's exceptions, but usually we don't partner with super new companies. We
Right.
usually partner with companies that have been around like at least a couple years. They're clearly stable. It's clearly like a good environment to be
Hmm.
going into and working. But usually companies that are still experiencing a fair amount of growth. So like not as a rule, we've definitely worked with companies that have been around for a while, but like somewhere in those like first few years,
Hmm.
like we tend to get a fair amount of partners that are in that space where like they're starting to bring on more like entry level and mid level people onto their team, and they're excited about the types of candidates that are coming through Praxis.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of opportunity for those people to come in and grow pretty quickly. And then obviously like the company culture and the working environment are pretty important too, and that's something we're definitely getting a feel for as we're researching the company and talking to people from their team.
Hmm.
And we're looking for a place where participants are going to have the chance to learn a lot, to take on responsibility that's equivalent to the growth that they're experiencing at the company. um, and we're looking for, again, like places where our participants are going to have the ability to apply
Hmm.
a lot of these things that they're learning in Praxis, both the skills but also the approach to career building,
Right.
and continuously apply that to take on more responsibility at their company once they start crushing that initial role they were hired for and move into other areas. um, and so we're probably like more corporate type environments
Hmm.
probably aren't a great fit because there's a
Right.
lot of bureaucracy. Things really rely on credentials. Like we're looking for a place that's a little scrappier,
Yeah.
right? Where there's a Praxis approach of like, I don't have a degree, but I'm super valuable because I can do a bunch of stuff. Like, let me at your problems,
Hmm.
where that could carry you into a lot of career growth. And, we've seen that a lot with the companies we're partnered with. We've had participants go on to make it all the way up to like the C-suite of a company, like executive level, or people like go on to manage their own teams. For sure, that happens pretty often
Oh
at the
yeah.
companies they're working at.
Nicholas
And
ended up after he finished up with Hap Day, he ended up starting his own business, and then also he now runs a community called the Mastermind. Mastermind Army. That's what it was. The Mastermind Army,
mm-hmm.
which is just salespeople. He helps train them to be better at their trade, which is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so those are kind of generally speaking, because
Mhm.
again, like it kind of varies from company to company, but
Oh,
those are some of the most important things that we're looking for. And then, type of company too. Like we partner with a lot of tech startups
mhm.
because again, they experience a lot of growth.
Oh
So it's a
yes.
really great place. If you come in and you do your job really well, there's a pretty good chance that like if you come in as an entry level or early level sales hire, it's pretty likely that, as you move up in the company, a whole lot more salespeople are going to get hired
Mhm.
to take the job that you had. And there's an opportunity to manage those people or to, become the account executive for the leads that they're bringing in.
Right.
And we have a participant right now who's in that type of situation. Like he was there, I think he's their first sales hire
Right.
and just worked really hard and crushed it. And now he's responsible for like making their sales team, their sales hires. And I think he's been there like 10 months or something like that. It
Wow, that's
hasn't
pretty
even
good.
really been that long, but they're starting to grow. And he's the person on the team now who's in that position to, like, he knows their sales process
Mhm.
and he knows what works and what doesn't. So he's the obvious person to be helping to teach these incoming sales reps. So tech companies are usually a great place for growth like that. But we've worked with education companies, real estate management companies, transportation companies, coaching companies,
Mhm.
all sorts of different areas and industries if the culture is a good fit.
Nice. Yeah. And actually, I think Stupid Raisins was a pretty good example as well because they were pretty much a tech company. They were just getting started for the most part. They've already been in business for
Mm-hmm.
about 5 8 years at the time when I got hired in, and then ever since I got hired on, we've added maybe another 4 or 5 team members to the group, which has grown like crazy. So I can definitely say, yeah, tech companies, they are always growing. They got a lot of growth going through them. And as a non-techie person myself, when I started, I knew nothing about website building. I knew absolutely nothing about using the internet in any proper form whatsoever. And then I went through Praxis, and now I'm able to do these type of things. And I didn't go to
Yeah.
college for like computer science or anything like that. I did it on my own, and I just read and I learned how to do that, and I just kind of did projects around it. Here I am.
Yeah, which is a really powerful, it's so empowering to be like, oh wow, I could just go learn this thing that I want to learn
Yeah.
and then go build cool stuff. I don't need some like fancy secret handshake and stuff to know how to like build a website.
Yeah.
It's not actually as magical as it seems.
It didn't take
But
like 4 years out of college to learn how to build a website. No, it took maybe a month.
how long did it took you a
It
month
took me
to
about a
build
month.
like a solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
That's
over
pretty
time, I just
awesome.
kind of refined it so that way my website's now even better quality than it originally was and better formats for the blogs. Yeah, if you were to go and look at my blog posts from before I started doing like the week 1 or week 2, you would see that it's definitely changed the formatting, how it looked, and what was in terms of the content was in there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to go pull up your blog post and look, but we'll do that later.
Hey, that's just who I am. I'm a really good salesperson, but you just don't realize it. Uh, but yeah. Oh man. So when participants are getting ready to be placed with their possible new business partners, how can they best prepare themselves for that? How can they best prepare to join or make themselves the best looking candidate on the list? I guess you could say. Does that make sense?
So basically, what are all the things we teach people in boot camp?
Yeah. I guess so.
Okay, that's a really big question.
I mean, we
So
can take it in chunks. If I maybe I need to redefine that question a little
no,
bit
we
further.
can. If you want to redefine it, if I'm painting it too broadly, please like interrupt me now because I'm gonna give like I can give a high level answer. You tell me if you want me to go
Hey,
specific or if you want me to just give a high level overview of like the core elements of the boot camp.
I think yeah. Let's go with the high level, the core
Okay.
elements. I think that would probably be a good start, and then we can go into
Okay.
the
I'll
details if we need to afterward.
That sounds perfect. I'll keep it pretty broad and then we can dig into anything more specific as needed.
Sounds
So,
good.
the skills that you're building in the boot camp, the way that we're getting you ready to apply, like taking you basically from 0 to 60 in the candidate readiness process, taking you from like, hey, I just graduated high school, I have a diploma, to like, hey, I'm actually a really exciting candidate with a really cool portfolio that's going to catch the eye of a hiring manager. Like, it's pretty, actually, let's use an example.
Okay.
Let's talk about a mock participant named Joe.
Okay.
That we don't, well, we do have a couple of Joes in the program, but I'm not referring to a specific Joe.
Joe 2. We can call him Joe 2. How about that?
Yeah, so this made up participant named Joe, he just graduated from high school. He worked at Chick-fil-A for a couple of years. Like, he's got some working experience, but it's not anything that's going to make a hiring manager say, wow, clearly you are qualified for my sales position at my company. Like, he wants to get from that to being an entry-level salesperson at a growing tech company. And that feels like a pretty big jump. It's like, wow, I've like handed people orders and taken orders at Chick-fil-A. That doesn't exactly, like, I talk to people, that doesn't exactly translate to like being a sales rep at a tech company. So we're helping participants bridge that gap. So as Joe starts his program experience, he starts to realize I'm kind of interested in sales. Like, I think that's the avenue I'm most interested in. I really like talking to people. I'm really fascinated by the idea of learning how to communicate to people in a way that makes them go like, wow, this product would be super helpful and I want to buy it. Mm-hmm. So he starts to bias in that direction. So some of what he's doing in the boot camp is like figuring out what types of work he wants to do, what types of roles he might want to go into, what types of opportunities might be interesting to him. But as that vision gets clearer, he'll start building projects that relates to sales. So maybe the first sales type project he builds is learning how to compile a leads list for a company. So he'll learn like how to use a tech tool like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which a lot of teams use, to find leads. And he'll find like an actual company and come up with like, okay, this is like what the profile of a lead would be. Like, this is the type of person I'm looking for. And he'll build a list of people that if he was working for this company, he would call or send emails to. Mm-hmm. And he goes through this process and he realizes like, wow, I actually really liked figuring out who a good candidate would be for buying this company's product. I want to do another sales type project. Like, that was really fun. So this time he's like, I want to learn a little bit about like sales copywriting, and I want to learn how to write sales emails. So again, like, he'll find an actual company to like an actual product to build these emails for, and he'll write a sales email sequence. And this email sequence will be selling a specific product. And over the course of like 4 or 5 emails, assuming that people don't answer on their first one, like, this is the way that he'll reach out to people, and then he'll touch them again, and then he'll touch them again, and he'll like keep following up until he gets a response. Like, this would be the progression of emails he'd send to get people's attention. Mm-hmm. And once he's done that, like, maybe he wants to build a leads list for that too, because he's like, hey, I actually like want to figure out who I would send this to. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he wants to like learn how to use an email scheduling software that can like automate this entire process, so he can like schedule the emails to go out, and he can see if people have clicked, and like if they've replied to an email, then he'll stop the sequence, so like none of the others will go out. Right. And he'll learn how to use these different tech tools, and he'll be like, that was really cool too. I definitely want to go work in sales now. And so maybe he'll do a project where, say, he like actually finds a local business, and he'll say, hey, like, let me go door to door, let me call a bunch of people and like try to market this specific event you're putting on or the specific special you're running. Like, let me get some boots on the ground experience selling stuff. Or let me, like, maybe he'll want to learn how to use like a much more in-depth sales software tool like Salesforce, which is it's called a CRM, which is a customer relationship management software, which I know doesn't make that any clearer, but basically what it does is it's like the brain that stores all of the information about your customers, everything from like every point of contact you've had, every email they've gotten from you, every email you've gotten from them too, potentially, depending on what you're logging. Mm-hmm. If they haven't become a customer yet, they're still a lead or a prospect, like where they are in the sales process, like how close they are to becoming a paying customer.
Right.
You can even take notes on like, hey, I talked to Johnny last week about like his kid who's about to start kindergarten. In the next call, like ask how the kindergartner's doing to like build that report. Like you can take notes on people, like whatever it is you want to log. Maybe he wants to learn how to use that and how to get really good at managing a tool like that. So he's building different projects based on what he's interested in. And he's adding all these projects to a profile or a portfolio that instead of being a resume with a bunch of working experience and bullet points and nothing else, it's a collection of technical skills that you have, like hard and soft skill you have, projects you built. And that's what, at the end of his boot camp experience, that's what he's going to send to hiring managers. And he'll also, over the course of this, like he'll probably write some blog posts about the things he learned at Chick-fil-A that do prepare him for being good at sales. Like if I could talk to angry customers and make them happy all day at Chick-fil-A at the pace that we talk to people at Chick-fil-A, like, you know, I'm going to be good on the phone and stuff like that. And all of these things combined make him a really interesting candidate because suddenly he knows how to use a lot of the technical skills that he'd need on the job. He understands how to write a cold email. Maybe he's gotten some experience, again, like boots on the ground talking to people. Maybe he like closed a few deals in that, you know, couple weeks or a month, however long it was, trying to make sales for an actual business. Like he's done all of the types of things that he would have to do in a sales role. And all of a sudden there's like tangible proof of his ability to crush it in every aspect of the job that he's being hired for. And all of a sudden he looks really interesting because most candidates don't have a portfolio like that. So he sends that to a hiring manager when he's applying for a job. And the hiring manager notices it because it's different from most of the things that he's gotten. And he's really impressed because clearly Joe has the skills that he needs, but also like he's got a lot of hustle if he worked on all these projects. And the hiring manager kind of wants him on his team. And so he'll reach out about scheduling an interview. And then we walk participants through interview prep so they know how to crush the interviews too. So he continues to impress the hiring manager. And that's how Joe goes from recent high school graduate with a couple of years of Chick-fil-A experience and nothing else to a full-time sales rep at a tech company with some pretty exciting growth prospects if he crushes it on the job. Does that, how sufficiently does that answer your question?
I think that's very much, I think that is very much sufficient. I think that works out perfectly. I think that's exactly what we're looking for. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much all of my questions at this time, and it's already 5:40. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Do you have any other questions that you would like to, or anything that you want to say before we close out?
I don't think so.
No?
Unless there's anything else that would be helpful for us to talk about here tonight.
Is there anything that you recommend that our viewers check out in terms of the Praxis community, or is there any like blog posts, or is there anything specific that they should go out look out? I know the forward tilt would probably be a very good idea.
Yeah, so I would, couple recommendations. If you're curious to just get immersed in the Praxis philosophy, I would recommend the Forward Tilt book and also the Forward Tilt podcast.
Yes.
If you want to get a little deeper into the specifics of career development, I would recommend the Office Hours podcast. I think there's 3 seasons of it.
There is.
It was okay, so it was I love that you know that and I don't.
Because I listened to every single one of them during my apprenticeship during the program. I listened to pretty much all of them.
Okay, yeah, so that was co-hosted by our co-founders, Isaac Morehouse and TK Coleman, and they just like answered listener questions every week with like career development challenges and questions. And that's really great if you want to get more in depth to like logistical side of what this career development process actually looks like. And then the other thing I would recommend, our blog has tons and tons and tons of content on a pretty broad array of topics. And I would just go scroll through the blog archive and like click the titles that seem interesting to you. And that'll give you a pretty good entry point into pretty much anything that you're interested in that pertains to Praxis. So I would explore that too.
And also, I should mention that a fair number of those blog posts are guest written by a lot of the participants as well, which is very interesting.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good way to get some participant perspectives too.
Alrighty then. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Hannah, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being here. It's been awesome seeing you.
Absolutely.
You have an awesome night, Hannah.
This was really fun. Thanks so much for having me, Bryce.
Hey there, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like and subscribe for more. And why not let me know down in the comments what you enjoyed most from the video. Also, a quick announcement before you head off. This year, I'm going to be hosting a Streaming for Charity event over on Twitch starting this December. I'm putting together a scholarship for young professionals who want to jumpstart their career through Praxis instead of going 4 years through college. The goal is to raise $200 this year. It's going to be a fun time this December as we'll be doing community events, and also I will be interviewing Praxis members live on a new podcast that I have in the works. Hey, be sure to keep an eye on my Twitter and Discord for more announcements on what's coming up. Have an awesome day, and I hope to see you this December as I'm streaming for charity this 2020.